Hello and welcome everyone. Now I've had to make this video a couple of times because there's parts of it that I get quite emotional about. So hopefully I can get through this one. But I've been told by my guides to speak about one of the most incredible gifts I've been given in this lifetime, and that was of having the experience of an NBE. And an NBE is a near birth experience, as opposed to an NDE, which is a near death experience. Now, this took place in 1992. I was 36. My twin left to cross over in 1987, and that initiated a huge awakening. And it was really 87 was the actual, I guess, birth in a way of the New Age movement. And there was incredible teachers that would come out, Louise Hay being one of them, of course, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, Bob Proctor, this just goes on, there's so many, who were talking about spirituality in a very different way than conventional religion, obviously. But that was really the birth of this movement, and it gained momentum, obviously, over the years, and people doing all kinds of things. Stuart Wilde was another one, whether it be, fire walking, anything, leaping off mountains with harnesses on, anything that brought up enormous fear, facing these worst nightmares, and conquering them. And that would have a ripple effect right through your life as to how you tackled it from then. All these beliefs we had, the experiences we've had up to those, partaking in these things that were smashing through those barriers, right? And so I went for it. I just went for it. And I did this vision quest in 92, signed up for it, thought this will be great. And it involved being partly out in the wilderness, American Indian vision quest, making talisman and going out and staying overnight on your own somewhere. That was confronting for a lot of people because they didn't want to be in the dark. We didn't have torches, we didn't have anything, but there were all these kind of things we did, including sweat lodge. So the other thing that was taught to us was a process called energy meditation, and EM for short. And this was a technique that was developed to access trauma that's stored in the body. Now, of course, most of you know we're encased in this auric field. When I say encased, it surrounds our body and it extends 6 feet out. So this energy meditation was using your hands to come towards the body at different distances, say 6 inches, and you really could feel the other person's energy field as you become closer to their body. But there was breathing involved, of course, but for me it was accessing these survival memories, birth memories, coming through the birth canal, where people have done rebirthing and have conquered or overcome obstacles in their life that go back to the birth experience that they had, perhaps with the cord around their neck, feeling suffocated, they can't breathe, and that trauma carries on in their life. So there's lots of techniques that can access this and help dissolve these things so that we can obviously be free from them. In my case, I partnered up with a woman, and we were doing this energy meditation. She started to work with me, and what happened was I started to access memory from around 7 years of age, firstly. And all of a sudden, I'm in this time frame, this moment in my life, fully in it, seeing the scene and feeling fear and a little terror because my parents were just arguing. So there's a lot of yelling, heated voices, things were getting thrown, and the fear was very palpable. So then that moment passed. And next thing, I have a memory, I'm in the womb of my mother with my twin. And we're having this conversation, telepathic, of course, because we all are telepathic. We can read and feel each other's thoughts as we do on the other side. We don't need to speak, use our mouths. Of course, we don't have the bodies, but everything, the communication is all telepathic. So I'm having this conversation with him. And the first thing that I felt was that I was much stronger than him. And the other thing was, I didn't want to be a girl this lifetime. I did not want to be a girl. Even though I knew that I'd been advised that this would be, this time period that I was coming into was an incredible transformational time in history where women who, I had memories obviously of how women were treated in other lifetimes, but this was the conjunction of when things were going to shift. Women were going to come into their power again. But even so, I did not want to be a girl because of these memories that I had before. So we were having this conversation and I said to him, you be the girl, I'll be the boy. I don't want to be the girl, And I remember it was vivid back and forwards. So then, next thing, I have a memory of I'm not in this body. I'm somewhere else. And in the distance, I can see this arc of lights, very, very bright lights. And I'm in this orange environment, glow, if you like. Everything is orange, except for these lights that are very bright white. And as they came closer towards me, they formed into a circle. And I realized I'm in the middle. And these lights, as they became closer and closer and gathered and huddled around me, their lights were so bright, and the orange glow that we were all bathing in became even more bright orange. And I remember looking at these souls. This is where I'll get emotional. Knowing that I knew each one of them so deeply. I've loved them for eons, eternally. And I knew I would love them eternally. These were part of my soul group. And these souls I'd traveled many lifetimes with before. So as I'm having this realization, the feeling that I was not going to be with them this lifetime because they weren't coming on this incarnation with me, but I knew I was going to see them again. But even so, the thought of coming back here into this body, into an incarnation this lifetime, I didn't want to be parted, but I knew I would see them again. So I'm going to give you some different details as we go along. I also had a memory, and it was so vivid. That's the other thing I want to say. Even though this happened in 1992, there's not one day that this memory fades in any way, any detail. It's as vivid and as real, more real than I'm standing here. And I know that I will never, ever lose this memory. It is so strong because I know it's real, right? And I knew that I'd made contracts with a lot of people this lifetime. I knew that I had something important to do, hence to be a girl. I was advised to be a girl. And this is what happens. We make these contracts with our soul group, members of our soul group who are also coming in to this incarnation. That some may be already here, but others may come around within the next 2 or 3 years of you coming down, so that you're kind of in a similar age group. And so I knew I'd made these contracts, and I knew I was undergoing a lot of trials, a lot of tests, and the soul wants to take on as much as it can in a lifetime. And because we know that we can grow exponentially, and a lot of things sometimes we come in with, they're brought over from a previous lifetime that we didn't get to complete, and we decide to pick that up again. And I had memories of that when I was, say, 2 years old, of things that I couldn't possibly have not got from this lifetime. I'll talk about that another time. But getting back to the soul contracts we make, people come into our lives at predestined times through different events, and we connect with them. And we have contracts, as I said, as to what these connections are like. And some of them can be quite hurtful, painful, horrific experiences, but they are where the diamond gets polished. That's where you have the most profound leaps in your growth, whether it be a renewed confidence, a completely different change in your direction that gets inspired from an event that at the time is so painful and so debilitating to you. You don't know if you're going to get through it, and it's usually around a loss of some kind, but often you talk to people who've experienced great loss in their life, and they'll often say it set them on this other path that brought them incredible gifts. So everything is planned out in a way, pre-planned out. And you can have different exit points you're given in this lifetime as to whether you can leave or not. And most of it sometimes it can come through accidents, from illness, from all sorts of ways. There's how many ways is I to leave. But of course, in this bodysuit, in this society, in this whole earth realm, we're taught to fear death, and we focus on, how did they die? And we focus on the way they left, when it's just, you make that decision how you want to go, And really, there is no suffering when you go. You actually leave your body before that anyway, particularly if it's a violent kind of death, an accident in particular, and which happened to a partner I had who was decided to leave in a car accident, and it was really quite violent, so the way he left. But nonetheless, it's just a way of leaving. And coming here and being born through the birth canal takes a lot. It's actually harder, much harder, to come from this beautiful, loving place that's our home, where we love each other eternally and unconditionally, but we have to come here for the contrasts. More on that. So I want to share this because not only did my fear of death totally disappear, but I knew that these other souls that I journeyed with in many lifetimes, I would be reunited with them. So when I do leave here, I'll see the people who were in my lifetime with me, my parents, my sibling, friends, maybe close friends, people I had, lovers, partners, husband, had close relationships with, if they've leave before you do, all right? And not only that, there'll be a huge welcome party going on, but also the people that didn't travel with you will be there to welcome you back and say, what a fabulous job you did. You were fantastic. And how great it is to be reunited. So we've been told to fear death and focus on it and losing our identity. And we're going to leave loved ones here behind, and it's going to be insufferable, and I won't be able to cope with it. But it's totally false. No one goes anywhere. Like I said, we pass through a portal, if you like, but we're never away. We're just, it's a very thin veil. and we're just always there. So every time you have a thought of someone who's passed over, they're there. They're there around you. And I'm sure many of you watching this will have had these experiences yourself. I mean, the more people I speak to, I'm so blown out, and I'm totally convinced. I mean, really, these experiences are just so common that they can't be discounted as if they're meaningless and it's hallucinations or something. Nothing could be further than the truth. We all have our relatives or friends who've passed over come and tell us that they're fine. I mean, most people you talk to go, oh, I had, a vision or a dream. If someone, a close relative friend's just passed over, and they've come to me and spoken to me and said they're fine, not to worry, everything's great. And so we want to do that. We want to reassure who's still here, it's okay, because a lot of us haven't woken up, and we want that kind of confirmation, So I just wanted to share that with you. And yeah, that experience was profound, how it affected my life. And like I said, I know that memory is never going to fade because it's real. So I wanted to just share that with you today. So if you've got any experiences you've had, or you've got questions to ask me, please write them down and in the comments, and I'm happy to answer those for you. But if you've also had someone close to you who's passed over, if they've come back and either spoken to you, or there's signs around, could be a smell, synchronistic music coming on the radio, a sign appears that's perhaps their favorite pastime or hobby that you'll see a sign about. It could be anything. We use all kinds of things. I mean, there's feathers and coins and that, but people tend to get some really good messages and signs that they're just, you can't sort of say, wow, this is synchronistic. But is it real? Well, yes, it is. It is. And they're all just reassuring you that no one goes anywhere. We're here all the time. We're just in another form. All right. Bye for now. Thanks for joining me today.